I saw him in the shadows. His eyes burned with a fury that chilled my bones. Prince Absalom, his heart twisted by hate, had returned for blood. None of us could have imagined what he would do. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I only watched as the wicked prince's revenge unfolded. It began years ago when the kingdom was still at peace. I was only a servant then, just one of many who worked in the grand palace of King David. My job was simple: bring water, carry messages, sweep the floors. I stayed out of sight, unnoticed in the corners of the halls, but I saw everything. That's how I came to know what really happened between the king's sons, the dark secret that led to the prince's revenge. The trouble began with Tamar, the king's daughter. She was beautiful, kind, and loved by everyone in the palace. But there was one who loved her in a way that was not right, her half-brother, Amnon. I remember seeing the way he looked at her, with eyes that were too hungry, too desperate. It made my skin crawl. It wasn't long before the rumors started. Amnon was sick, they said. But I knew better. He wasn't sick in body. His sickness was in his mind, in his heart. He wanted Tamar, and he didn't care what he had to do to have her. One night I was sent to bring food to Amnon's chambers. When I arrived, Tamar was already there. She looked worried, but she was too kind, too trusting to think ill of her brother. Amnon sent everyone away, leaving just the two of them. I should have left too, but something told me to stay close. To listen. The screams that followed still haunt me. Tamar's cries echoed through the halls, but no one came to help her. Amnon, the king's firstborn, had violated her, and no one dared to stand against him. Tamar ran from the room, her robe torn, her face wet with tears. She found her brother Absalom, who held her in his arms, promising that justice would come. But justice never came. King David, their father, did nothing. He was angry, yes, but he did nothing to punish Amnon. It was as if the king was afraid of his own son. That was the moment everything changed. I saw it in Absalom's eyes. His love for his sister turned to hatred for his brother, and that hatred burned hotter each day. For 2 years, he said nothing, did nothing. He played the part of the dutiful son, waiting, plotting. Then the day came when Absalom invited all the king's sons to a feast at his estate. It was a day of celebration, or so we thought. I was sent with the other servants to help prepare the feast. The air was thick with tension, but no one spoke of it. No one dared. As the wine flowed, Absalom's mood darkened. He whispered to his men, his most loyal followers, and they nodded in silent agreement. I caught bits of their conversation, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that Absalom could be planning something so horrible. But the look in his eyes, the same look I had seen years before when he found Tamar, told me the truth. When the moment came, it happened so quickly, it felt like slow motion. Absalom's men surrounded Amnon, who was drunk and laughing, unaware of what was about to happen. One of the men drew his sword, and before anyone could react, it was done. Amnon's body crumpled to the ground, blood pooling around him. The other princes jumped to their feet in shock, fear spreading like wildfire. They fled, running for their lives, afraid that they might be next. Absalom stood over Amnon's body, his face calm, almost serene, as if the weight of his hatred had finally been lifted. I should have run too, but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen, watching the scene unfold. The others had left, but I remained, hiding in the shadows, praying Absalom wouldn't see me. I don't know if he did. For years after, the kingdom was in chaos. Absalom fled to a distant land, and the king mourned for both his sons, one dead, the other in exile. But I knew Absalom wasn't finished. His revenge wasn't complete. He would return, and when he did, no one would be safe. 3 years passed before Absalom was allowed back into the kingdom. By then, he had gathered followers, men who were loyal to him, men who hated the king's inaction as much as he did. He had no love left for his father, no respect for the throne. All that remained was his desire for power, for control, and for more blood. It was then that the rumors started again. Absalom was plotting to overthrow King David. He held secret meetings, gathering support from the people, promising them justice, promising them a kingdom free of David's rule. I had seen enough to know where this was headed, but no one listened to the warnings of a lowly servant. The day of reckoning came when Absalom marched into the city with his army. The streets were filled with the sound of war, swords clashing, shields breaking, men screaming. King David fled, along with those loyal to him, but Absalom pursued them. He wanted his father's throne, and he would kill anyone who stood in his way. I was there when the final battle took place, hiding in the trees, watching from a distance. Absalom's forces were strong, but the king's men fought with the desperation of those who had nothing left to lose. In the end, it was not a sword or spear that ended Absalom's life. It was his pride. As he rode through the forest, his long hair, the hair he was so proud of, became tangled in the branches of a great oak tree. He was caught, hanging helplessly, as his horse rode away. It was a pitiful sight, watching the once mighty prince struggle, his hands grasping at air, his face twisted in fear. The king's men found him like that, and Joab, the commander of the army, took his life with a single thrust of his spear. The battle was over, the rebellion crushed. But the kingdom would never be the same. King David wept for his son, the son who had betrayed him, the son who had brought so much death and pain to his family. And I, the silent witness to it all, was left to carry the memories of what I had seen, the memories of a family torn apart by love, by loss, and by revenge. The wicked prince was dead, but the scars of his hatred remained. The story of Absalom is a haunting reminder of how unchecked anger and a thirst for revenge can bring devastation to a family and a kingdom. Absalom's inability to forgive or seek justice in a healthy way led him down a path of rebellion and destruction, harming not only his enemies but those he loved and himself. His father, King David, faced the tragic consequences of his own inaction, as his failure to address Amnon's wrongdoing bred bitterness and division within his family. This shows the danger of leaving serious offenses unresolved and the importance of addressing harm in a just and timely manner. In a broader sense, the story teaches that harboring hatred and seeking vengeance blinds us to the bigger picture, often leading to our own ruin. Justice must be sought, but revenge twists justice into a cycle of suffering and pain. The lesson here is clear. True strength lies in the pursuit of reconciliation and justice, not in vengeance. Holding on to bitterness can consume us, while forgiveness, though difficult, can bring healing and prevent future harm.